Hello, 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 and welcome to the Coaxum Report. This is Terry Coaxum. For those of you that are tuning in, you can also catch us on Apple TV. You can catch us on Roku. You can also catch us simultaneously on WSTX Bloomberg. I encourage you to go on to ourtv.network, download the app, and you can catch us each and every week here on the Marketplace Coaxum Report. And I am Terry Coaxum. I am your host. I am truly delighted to be joined today by a brother from another mother, our special guest, Michael A. Blake. Mike Blake is a former New York Assemblyman. He's also a friend. I had the pleasure of working with him when I worked in the Obama administration in the Office of Advocacy Small Business. And Mike, how are you?
I'm beyond blessed. I'm good, tired. I'm still recovering from convention. I'm all
Oh,
those things. How
yes.
you doing?
I am blessed as well. I mean, that convention was electric. Before we get into it, though, because that's going to be really a great conversation for us to have, especially when we talk about the importance of this election and how all politics is local. But before I do that, I want to make sure everyone know exactly who you are. You know, you're the founder of Atlas, but I want to tell folks a little bit about who is Mike A. Blake. When they see this man doing a damn thing, who is he? What is he doing? How did he get here? What is his passion about? What is all this drive about? Talk to me, Mike.
I think at the end of the day, it's I'm still a kid from the Bronx, New York. That's how I
That's
kind of
it.
operate right
Throwing
there.
up the Mexes. He
Yeah,
gotta ask y'all.
you already know what time it is, right? And that's who I am in my foundation. Creston and Burnside family from Jamaica. Had the opportunity, public schools K through 12, and the blessed opportunity to work for President Obama. Trained by him in 2006.
Yes.
Went to go work for him and with him from 2007 to 2013, and doing everything from Iowa, being the one of the other brothers in Iowa. We do
That's
exist
right.
out there, right? To being on that journey of working at the White House, which is a transformational opportunity, directing African American outreach, and then coming back home. And Dr. Terry, I'm just grateful, grateful for that journey, the space that it was given to me
Mhm.
to be that kid who daddy was a janitor at St. Barnabas Hospital, 1199 SEIU. Mama worked for 40 years at a manufacturing plant in New Jersey. Took 2 buses to get to work, came back home, raised 4 boys,
Wow.
and all that led to becoming an assembly member. Um, Being vice chair of the DNC, and now starting this effort of Kairos. Kairos is our activation arm of our team of Atlas Strategy Group. Atlas is our public affairs company. Our whole vision
That's right.
is around bringing consciousness to capitalism, and the thought of it of Kairos being opportunities to create moments. So we've created the Kairos Democracy Project, so we can have the storytelling of democracy. We are focused on what are we doing about our Kairos conversations, our celebrations, our connections, and our cultivation and culmination. And all of that is just continuing the work and the ministry in the vineyard. It could be preaching on Sunday or doing the work on a Wednesday. All of that is intertwined on what we do.
Absolutely. But I mean, you went over it so quickly. You kind of like glossed over the importance of every single step on your journey, right? So you first started out by talking about your neighborhood in the Bronx. You started talking about how you were able to elevate in that space, how you were able, because you're all about community. And so you learn this somewhere. It's all about being in your community. Your mom, you're raising the four brothers, the four of you, right? And instilling in you that sense of community, that sense of togetherness, that sense that you were the change that you needed to be. Anything that you needed to do, she made sure that you understood that you could do it, right? And still do. I mean, that's something that we expect from you. We look up to Mike, we're like, oh, he could do it, and Mike could do it. So I don't want to gloss over that. And I want to talk about the importance of that network. Like, you say he trained me. He is the man. It wasn't just the he, it was the person that we were able to see in our lifetime come the leader of the free world. And so, having that network, that opportunity, that ability, and now being able to do what you do to tell our story through our narrative, not someone else telling the story for us, which is really, really important when we talk about Cairo. So I don't want to, I didn't want to just gloss over that as if it just happened.
Appreciate that.
Because it didn't.
We've been doing the work. Yes.
That's right.
And staying consistent in that work and grateful in that zone. And yeah, life changed forever when Senator Obama took a chance on me and 9 others on how to train us on how to run campaigns.
That's right.
In 2006. And then it changed again when he gave us a chance to work for him in Iowa in 2007. And the continuation of it is what he said in 2012, the vision of how that next generation of organizers had emerged. And so all of that, yes, I'm grateful. I'm excited. I'm grateful and excited. And now is that, that continuity, when we think about the environment that we're in now, the training, the mobilization, the empowerment, the belief that you are good and you are Black, and you are Black and you are good.
That's right.
It is something that has stayed with me and stayed with us, and something I won't forget. And it continues in what we're doing with Kairos now. It continues in what is happening with this election now, and it continues what happens in 2025 and beyond.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. So we're going to jump on commercial for a second and come right back. And then I want to get right into Kairos and what you're doing, the importance of that. And then I want you to talk about, because we always talk about the barriers, right? We talked about the barriers. I want to talk about some best practices and big ideas, and then how Kairos is helping to be the solution that we need to move forward. So let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Welcome to our TV network, your ultimate destination for all things exciting and essential. From mouth-watering food to the latest in fashion, health, education, music, movies, and news, plus thrilling sports and breathtaking travel. Our TV network brings it all to you. Tune in today and experience the best of every world, all in one place, rtv.network.
Hello everybody, welcome back for another Healthy Minute. If you want to boost your brain health, make sure you eat more foods that are packed with omega-3 fatty acids, foods such as salmon and sardines. And if you want to increase your protein content, which is also excellent for your body, add some codfish. Fresh codfish in fact, is low in mercury, high in protein, and has a great number of vitamins and minerals. For this Healthy Minute, I'm Dr. Hafizullah. See you again soon. Thank you for watching. Please remember to click subscribe for the latest videos and updates. See you soon.
I used to watch BET, MTV, VH1, now I watch Tempo. Soca, Calypso, Reggae Dance Hall. Don't stall, better get tuned in to the tempo. Don't have cable, they got an app. Go to your app store, download that. Whether it's tourism, cuisine, or the social scenes, if it ain't Tempo, it's a rap. Who got the Caribbean views? Tempo. It's the latest in Caribbean news. Tempo. You tryna cook Caribbean food? Tempo. You know they got the music videos too. Tempo. Who got the Caribbean views? Tempo. It's the latest in Caribbean news. Tempo. You tryna cook Caribbean food? Tempo. You know they got the music videos too. Tempo.
Welcome to our TV network, your ultimate destination for all things exciting and essential. From mouth-watering food to the latest in fashion, health, education, music, movies, and news, plus thrilling sports and breathtaking travel, our TV network brings it all to you. Tune in today and experience the best of every world, all in one place, rtv.network.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. I think I fixed the technical glitch. So I wanna welcome you back, Mike. I just want to just say the first part of the segment has been really phenomenal. Really having you talk about how you were able to just really elevate just because of who you are. And I want to go back for a few minutes because I did not ask you originally about any of the barriers of that were placed that you were able to overcome. And the reason that I do that in the show is because I like, first of all, I didn't tell you this, right? So if somebody tell you they saw you in St. Kitts, don't be surprised because this TV is international. This TV show is international. So a lot of my friends hit me up and be like, why are you on my TV? So this is a Coaxum report. You can catch us on Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, Roku. We're also simultaneously on WSTX Bloomberg. And I have the phenomenal pleasure of having Reverend Michael Blake here talking to us a little bit about his journey. And then we're going to get into the importance of this election. So before we took a quick commercial break, Mike was just telling us about his elevation, how he was actually trained by President Barack Obama. And he said he took a chance on them, but that was because of his work and his tenacity. You have to be, my mom used to always say, I'm from South Carolina, you have to be ready, right? So you don't have to get ready. So when he was ready to train, the 9 of you were already there in place for him to take you to the next level. So I want to talk a little bit about some barriers, some best practices, and then I'm going to parlay a little bit into big ideas as you tell us about what you're doing at Kairos and how it's able to help us on the next leg of this journey, because this is a pivotal moment in our time right now. We're at a historic place in our lives. We came from the DNC, really energetic. It was a place for us to really connect and see what the next step should be. So talk to me a little bit about the barriers, the best practices, and then we're going to get right into those big ideas and how we can take this thing to the next level.
Well, for barriers, Doc, I mean, a lot of times we're still in the spaces where we are the first. And so you are trying to learn what you should be doing on the fly without the ability to fail. I mean, one of the things that Trump has been able to consistently do is able to fail forward. And that's because of legacy money and legacy protections that we have not had. And so, when you're going into a scenario, as I was, where in 2007, I'm going to Iowa for 10 months and being asked to lead a constituency outreach program. That's the first time I've ever done something like that at that degree. But we had to win. And that's the thing that people seem to forget. Like we were the first major campaign, if you will, that if you didn't win Iowa, you pretty much were done. We've seen a lot of other campaigns where they would come in 3rd, 4th, 5th, and still find ways because they can organize from there. And so for us, we understood that. And so in large part, the barrier, there's financial barriers of do you take these risks and pursue these careers where you don't know what, where your next paycheck may come from and how you're going to pay these bills. There's the barrier of fear where a lot of our Caribbean communities are just asking and trying to understand what is this thing that you're doing? Just do the traditional route and be okay. And let's just kind of keep it moving. There is the fear of success, quite frankly, right?
Wow.
You win, and then what, right? And how does that change things? Mm-hmm. So those are different barriers, but now it all ties into what we do, right? And to your earlier question, Kairos is the other definition of time. I heard it from Reverend Dr. Johnny Green when I was at
Johnny Green, I know, Brad.
That was a great National Action Network session, and he said it, and it's just stayed with me. And so our whole vision of Kairos, and specifically our Kairos Democracy Project, KAIROS, democracyproject.com, is the storytelling. How do we identify surrogates? How do we do data and research? How do we create content? And how do we deploy leaders so that we make the intersectionality of it all, that we come from the space that you cannot talk about democracy without talking about race and issues. You cannot talk about democracy without talking about the economy. You have to figure out what people care about first to be able to talk about democracy. And in that same spirit, our Kairos programming within Atlas is of that same zone. And so we come at this from a lens of the art and the necessity of the connection.
Right.
And it's not just about, access to capital and access to contracting, it's access to the connection.
That's right.
And so all of this intertwined for this election cycle, of course, for the presidency, but then on down for the Senate races and congressional races on down, as well as state Supreme Court elections in Michigan and gubernatorial races in North Carolina. Our approach on all this is if we can get to people in different ways, such as what we're doing right now.
That's right.
So I'm grateful for what you're doing and utilizing your gifts in this manner. Then we can actually start having conversations in different manners. And so when we talk about what's going on in the news, such as the latest tragic shooting that happened in Georgia at the school on earlier today, where two apparently have succumbed to their injuries, unfortunately, to the conversations around economic policies and the shift of saying, as a small business owner, that you could potentially write off $50,000 instead of $5,000 of initial expense. That's a game changer for a lot of people.
It is a game changer. Yeah.
Those are all pieces, a part of my passion. And as Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley says, I treat it as, policy is my love language.
That's right.
And so all these things are intertwined on what we do and why we do it and how we do it. That if we can create opportunities that create moments, then we can create legacy.
Create opportunities that create moments that create legacy. I need y'all to write it down. Create opportunities that create moments that create legacy. And I want to back it up for a bit because I had Dr. Hazel Dukes on, and she talked about the importance, and she talked about social justice. And then I had Laurie Favors on, and she talked about social and economic justice. And all of these pieces come together in such a significant way because it's about meeting people where they are, right? So when we're talking about Florida, and I had a conversation with my sister from another Mr. Dr. Karen Green, and she says, well, listen, sis, a lot of these Florida voters, they're independents. We need to meet the independent voters where they are because they don't want to be associated with Democrat. They don't want to be associated with Republican, but they have issues and needs similar to what you just talked about. They're talking about issues around education. They're talking about economics. They're talking about housing. A lot of young people that are coming out of institutions are worried about where they're going to stay at and about their student loans. And so these are the things that we're meeting them where they're at. So we're getting on planes and going to Florida and having these conversations that are important to people, meeting them where they're at. Or is it over in New York City? What we're doing is taking buses to Philadelphia and to Pennsylvania and to other swing states that we understand. We need to be able to speak their language, Mike, similar to what you're doing at Alice and at Kairos. You are having conversations with people no matter where they are. And the biggest thing that I like to say, especially to my students, is I don't want to just talk to people that can pick up the phone and call you Mike. I don't want to just talk to people that can turn on the TV and maybe see me. I want to talk to those folk that are not doing any of that. Those are the folk that we need to touch and meet where they're at. And my students and young people in the game are doing that. And so as long as you and I are opening up this avenue where we're having conversations about the things that matter to each and every one of us, and you say policy is your language, politics is policy. So when I have young people say to me, oh, I don't do politics every day, you do. Every single day, whether it's that pothole in your neighborhood or your school is not getting enough resources, all of that. Politics is policy that equals resources in your neighborhood. And when we speak that language to them, I'm able to get through a lot quicker to them than I am to say, hey, so-and-so died for you to have the right to vote.
Well, that's right. I mean, I think, and in closing for me, look, that from the moment you're born to the moment you get called on home, your life is impacted in every form through politics and policy. And so our job, our Black job,
I love Michelle.
Remind people.
That's right.
That you can't separate yourself from this. You care about housing. You care about your car. You care about your job. You care about all these things that are impacted by policy.
That's right.
And as long as we connect it to the block and make it practical and real, things change. We say that this is our time. This is our Chronos. This is our Kairos. Right. So this is the vision of how we have this. And all that is happening, you have a choice, everybody. This is about choice and contrast. You have a choice on making a decision about the humanity of two people and then the policies of two people and then the
Mm.
practices of two people. So for
Love
the
that.
humanity, you have a man in Donald Trump who called for the death of the Central Park Five, who he and his family would block black and brown people to get access to housing, who has said that we come from shithole countries and that we're rapists and all these other nonsense that he says about black and brown folk. This is what he says. This is not what Mike Blake said. This is what he says.
Right.
Who has said that he doesn't trust black people with his money. All these different, this is what he believes versus an incredibly competent, brilliant black woman who went to Howard, studied law, was a DA, an attorney general, a United States senator, a vice president. Then ask yourself, the most important thing you can do for somebody and something is probably protect someone's life. And you have one person who was a disaster during COVID, and you have another person who executed an incredible COVID recovery. And then for the vision forward, you have one person who is literally saying they want to be a dictator, and the other one who's talking about freedom. You have one person who wants to implement a Project 2025 that anyone under $400,000 will pay higher taxes.
That's right. Or
you have another person who wants a tax policy that the people that would pay more, the ones that are making more than 400,000, even including the millionaires. So it's a pretty clear difference here about what we're talking about. And it's about who do you put your lives in their hands. And so at the end of the day, I will spend every possible moment utilizing platforms such as what you've done here with Dr. Coaxum. I'm grateful for you, what we're doing on Instagram Live, what we're doing on X, what we're doing on TV, to utilize our network of mobilizing people, of the 54,000 brothers and allies that got on the phone that we did with Roland Martin and myself and Khalil Thompson and Quentin James and Bakari Sellers, for the work that we are doing in talking about the storytelling of democracy, making it real clear that not all skin folk are kinfolk. And so you should not be electing Mark Roberts in North Carolina when that lieutenant governor has done everything possible to destroy what's going on in that state. Or you can spend your time on re-electing a black woman to the Supreme Court in Michigan, where we got to remind people that you can vote straight ticket, but then you got to turn the ballot over to vote there. It's about the education campaigns that are existing in so many of these countries and cities and communities that if you're not paying attention to what's going on in Venezuela and what's going on in Russia, and what's going on in China, other places where clearly dictator-like mindsets have existed, you have to say we will not allow that to happen here. And so at the end of the day, we've created Atlas, we've created Kairos, we've created these efforts so that we have a space for us. So find us at CBC in DC. We're going to do Kairos activations every day, September 11th to 15th. We will be in New York doing Kairos at UN General Assembly Week and Climate Week, September 23rd, 24th. We'll do activations on September 10th that night, and post-debate coverage. We'll be on CNN the next morning for post-debate coverage as well. You will see us. So find Kairos Democracy Project, find atlasstrategy.group, and you will see something that shows you this is what happens. Kairos is the space that when people of color see ourselves, we see our power. This is our moment to show our power.
Absolutely. And then I want to close in saying, to all my listening audience, please find Kairos, please find out what Atlas is doing, and understand what I always say. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. It's not that things aren't being decided for you. They're being decided. You're just not a part of it. By being a part of this strategy, being a part of moving forward, being a part of this freedom movement, then you are changing the game for yourselves, for your families, and for our future. And so, Rev Mike, I just thank you so much. Assembly member, DNC, all the titles. I just want to thank you for being a part of the Coaxum Report. And I look forward to working closely with you together to bring it on home to victory, but more importantly, to give us what we need in this time, because we're ready. We're ready for it. Thanks again.
For you. Grateful for you. All right. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. Take care. Be blessed.
Take care.
See you at CBC.
For 10 years, the Survey of Household Economics and Decision-Making has tracked the economic well-being and financial conditions reported by U.S. adults and their families. The survey collects data on how people feel about their family's finances to help understand the effects of broader economic trends over time. Conducted in October 2022, the latest survey reveals that 73% of adults were doing at least okay financially, meaning they reported either doing okay or living comfortably. The share of adults doing at least okay financially in 2022 was down 5 percentage points from 2021 and was among the lowest observed since 2016. This decline in well-being aligns with broader economic conditions during fall 2022, including inflation and stock market declines. In economically challenging times, relatively small, unexpected expenses, such as a car repair or a modest medical bill, can be a hardship for many families. When faced with a hypothetical expense of $400, 63% of all adults in 2022 said they would have covered it exclusively using cash, savings, or a credit card paid off at the next statement, referred to altogether as cash or its equivalent. The share who would pay using cash or its equivalent was down 5 percentage points from 2021 and back at its 2019 level. Consistent with widespread experience of higher prices in the prior year, most adults said that price increases had affected their family budget. Adults with incomes under $100,000 were more likely to say their family budget was affected a lot by rising prices, compared to adults with higher incomes. Black and Hispanic adults, parents living with children under 18, and those with a disability were also more likely to indicate that their budget had been affected a lot by higher prices. Most people took action in response to higher prices, especially through changing spending. The most common adjustments were using less or stopping using products, as well as switching to cheaper alternatives. Just above 1/2 of respondents reduced savings. Increasing borrowing, working more, and asking for a raise were less common strategies. These survey findings provide insight into the wide range of financial opportunities and challenges facing U.S. families at the time of the survey. More information is available in the report on the economic well-being of U.S. households in 2022. To view or download this year's full report and downloadable survey data, visit federalreserve.gov/consumerscommunities/shed.
Having an issue with your bank?
What?
Did your credit card company close your account without warning? Did an online merchant refuse to send your purchase after they took your money? Know your rights as a consumer. Here's what you can do to file a complaint. As soon as you're aware of a problem, contact the customer service staff at your financial institution or merchant to make them aware of the issue. This is typically the fastest way to resolve your complaint. If that doesn't resolve the problem, you should reach out to the appropriate regulatory agency to file a complaint. The Federal Reserve Consumer Help Center experts and website can answer your questions about how to file a complaint against a bank or other institution. The FRCH website can also help you find the regulator for your financial institution. Depending on the type of institution you have a complaint against, the agency will differ. For complaints about federally insured state-chartered bank members of the Federal Reserve System, contact federalreserveconsumerhelp.gov. Specialists can direct you to the agency that regulates your institution, such as the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the Federal Housing Finance Agency. The National Credit Union Administration would get complaints about credit unions. And for complaints about an online merchant, contact the Federal Trade Commission. The list of regulated entities these federal agencies oversee is also available at federalreserve.gov/consumercommunities/agency. For more information about how to file a consumer complaint, please visit the link in this post.
The acceleration of already high food, fertilizer, and fuel prices has triggered a global crisis that could drive millions more into extreme poverty, magnifying hunger and malnutrition, while threatening to raise the global humanitarian caseload to new highs and erase hard-won development gains.
Food pricing is our number one problem right now as a result of all this perfect storm for 2022. But 2023, it very well will be a food availability problem.
What's the one thing that we all have in common? It's food. We need it, we enjoy it, and it brings us together. But right now, accessing affordable and nutritious food is becoming more and more difficult around the world. We've found ourselves living in a global food crisis.
Millions upon millions of people, in fact, 345 million people today are suffering from hunger at a crisis level.
Since early 2022, we at WFP already warned that this would be a year of unprecedented hunger. The pandemic's economic consequences play a huge part in hunger rising to unprecedented levels. At the same time, climate shocks continue to destroy lives, crops, and livelihoods, and undermine people's ability to feed themselves. Meanwhile, conflict keeps waging war on everyday life. As the biggest driver of hunger, currently 60% of the world's hungry live in areas afflicted by violence. In Ukraine, the war has transformed what was the breadbasket of the world into a major humanitarian aid recipient. Before the war began, Ukraine produced enough food to feed 400 million people per year. But when the war started, Ukraine's food exports all but stopped, trapping corn and wheat inside the country.
You know what is really interesting is that our markets for exporting food are highly concentrated. What that means is that less than 10 countries export 80-90% of total exports of crops like wheat, corn, rice, soybean. So when any shock happens to one of these 10 countries or less, we see a disproportionate effect around the world.
It's likely you're already feeling the impact of the crisis, whether that's seeing higher food prices during your weekly shop or finding limited supplies in the supermarket.
Before the war in Ukraine started, prices of food commodities were already at a 10-year high. Prices of fuel commodities were already at a 7-year high. And now on top of that, because of the war, things were not moving as they were supposed to out of the Black Sea. And this is troublesome, not only for the poor countries, but also for rich countries. Look at the United States, 8.5% inflation hasn't happened in decades. Look at UK, 10.1%. So if our advanced economies are suffering as they are, what to talk of poor net food and fuel importing countries?
When it comes to the world's most vulnerable, the cost of the global food crisis will be counted in lives lost.
Almost every country in the Middle East and North Africa region have been hard hit by the war in Ukraine. This is a region that's highly dependent on food imports, and especially on the imports of grain from Ukraine and from Russia. 30% and more of the grain that comes to this region comes from Ukraine and Russia because of the geographical proximity. There are many countries in the region who have had a big burden in terms of food prices because of the conflict in Ukraine. To give you an example, a country like Syria, food prices have increased by 37% from February till April, and that's since the onset of the conflict.
Even before the global food crisis, some families were already living on the edge.
ما كانت ظروفنا هيك أبدا. كنت أعمل مكدوس، كنت أعمل زيتون، كانت الأسعار معقولة يعني. الوضع أسوأ لأنه الأسعار كل ما عم ترتفع. يعني ربطة الخبز اللي هي ربطة خبز الشيء الأساسي بالبيت سعرها تغير. هلا كتير شغلات نحن حارمين حالنا منها، مثلا الفواكه ممنوعة، تفتحي بالرادي فاضي مصفر. هلا ليجي صغير من المدرسة نتغدى وراحت للمساء ليجي بيو من الشغل لحتى نتعشى، وجبتين بنها.
The global food crisis we're facing is being worsened by the energy crisis and the fertilizer crisis that are also occurring, leaving millions of people at risk of hunger and unable to afford a basic meal.
What we don't want for sure is that today's affordability crisis turns into or becomes tomorrow's availability crisis. What I mean by that is that today, if you have money, you can buy food. But if you don't sort out a few things right now, tomorrow, even if you have money, it won't be enough to buy food. What are those things to sort out? We need to make sure that the next agricultural season is a good one. That requires agricultural inputs, especially fertilizer. And if that doesn't happen, our affordability crisis, which is bad enough as we can see around the world, turns into an availability crisis, meaning that food will be even less affordable for millions upon millions of people around the world. I like to say that when WFP is setting records, that doesn't sound great for the world. In 2020, we assisted about 116 million people. In 2021, we assisted about 128 million people. That's the highest in our 60-year history. And guess what? This year, we're planning to assist between 140 to 150 million people. But in order for that to happen, WFP needs funding because we are voluntarily funded. And two, we always need access. And when we have both of them, we can do the job.
Right now, WFP's response focuses on three key things: providing emergency food and cash assistance and nutrition support to prevent millions from dying of hunger, supporting national social protection systems, and strengthening food systems. It's clear we all need to work together and fast in the face of today's global food crisis.
Welcome to our TV network, your ultimate destination for all things exciting and essential. From mouth-watering food to the latest in fashion, health, education, music, movies, and news, plus thrilling sports and breathtaking travel. Our TV network brings it all to you. Tune in today and experience the best of every world, all in one place, rtv.network.